Next up, we have Leighanne Jones. Leighanne is the SEO manager at Beyond Blue Media. They are a full-service digital marketing agency, really focused on using data to kind of track and understand their kind of success. She's got a varied background in search engine marketing, SEO strategy, kind of content creation. She's going to talk to us today about, in the world of kind of increasing influence of AI, and AI sometimes seems to replace humans or kind of humanity in the kind of process, and replacing original human-based content with, I guess, pre-manufactured kind of content. So understanding how we can kind of keep the human touch in marketing and how important that can be for local businesses, but also as a differentiator. So please join me in welcoming Leighanne onto the screen.
Hello.
Hey, Leighanne. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. Very good. Tell me, where are you based?
I am in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, looking at you have your shutters down, but it looks like a nice sunny day there, is it?
It is. It's beautiful today.
Oh, I can just imagine you got some incredible views there in kind of Colorado. Listen, thank you so much for being with us today. Really, really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to hear what you're going to share with us. So I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to jump off, and I'll be back in about 20 minutes for the Q&A.
Perfect.
All right.
Yes, as Miles introduced me, my name is Leighanne Jones, and I am the SEO manager at Beyond Blue Media, a full-service marketing agency based out of Fort Collins, Colorado, but we work with businesses all over the country. Going to be talking today about keeping humans in marketing. I feel like this is a very valid topic right now, seeing more of it as things go on with AI and software and tools and all that fun stuff. So we'll get into the little agenda for this little 20-minute talk here. Give you some information about the organization that I am raising funds for today, which is called the Quarter Project. We'll go over how AI is used in marketing in kind of three main ways. Obviously, you could have an entire presentation about how AI is used in marketing, and won't get too into the weeds about it. But we'll go over some ways it can be used as a crutch, as well as some benefits to it, why it's important to keep the human touch in marketing, and then we will wrap it up and send you on your way. So the organization, nonprofit that I am raising funds for today is called the Quarter Project, and they are a Northern Colorado nonprofit that empowers girls and gender nonconforming youth in STEM. And through their after-school programs, they look to build confidence and inspire elementary to high school students to see themselves as future STEM leaders. They were founded in 2015, so they are not a super old nonprofit, and they are currently serving 9 different schools in Northern Colorado. And like I mentioned, they do a bunch of STEM activities. They have a coding program for students, and everything in their program is actually taught by individuals at Colorado State University. So very excited to be raising funds for them, and love that they are a local organization to where I am. Jumping right into it, obviously, AI is all over the marketing world these days. And as I mentioned, you could have a whole slide presentation about stuff related to that. But some of the 3 main things that you can see with AI in marketing is predictive analysis, personalization, and automated tools. Predictive analysis, meaning you can take data and predict trends and then optimize your marketing strategies, whether that's for SEO, ads, content, all that stuff. Personalization being more specific to tailoring your content and targeting your advertising through ad copy and regular website copy, blog, service pages. And then, of course, automated tools. See a lot of those. But just because it can be automated doesn't mean that it necessarily should be. And I think since the release of ChatGPT, AI has kind of become this daily headline topic with tools that are just constantly being created and adopted across all types of industries, not just marketing. And I just want to preface that, the goal of this presentation is not to make AI out to be the bad guy. It very obviously has clear benefits and very practical applications in your daily work. I use it myself. People I work with use it. I'm sure most of the people watching this are using AI in their daily workflows. The main point is to really focus on the over-reliance of AI's presence in our daily workflows, and that can be a little bit excessive. And there's this kind of underlying fear with AI, and the more that it advances and the more tools that come out, that there's the potential for abuse of tools and the possibility that it could replace humans, which is kind of scary because it's an unknown. And we're seeing some of that with companies that have laid off employees because AI can do it better. I can speak specifically in customer service, administration, and tech sectors. And at the local level, that can be a much bigger deal within community in regards to job loss. But it's completely understandable for small businesses that may not be able to always invest a lot of money in marketing, and AI can help cut costs for them. So it's two sides of a coin. It's used, it's helpful, but in the way that it's going, we're using it in a lot of excessive ways. So to jump right into it, how are we using AI as a crutch? As corny as it sounds, AI has never experienced a heartbreak. It has never lived a human experience. It's never experienced a human emotion. It has never had a real world decision making moment, if you will. And to put that more into context, it's never had to buy a house. It's never laid off an employee. It's never had to fix an air conditioning unit if you're a service provider. So what sets human beings apart from machines is ultimately our ability to be feeling these emotions and going through, when something happens to us and we have to deal with that. And it's our perspective that sets us apart as well. Another area of where we're using it as a little bit of a crutch is with content abuse. And Will Reynolds actually spoke to this in the very first presentation yesterday about SEO spam content, which I thought was a really great example about how people are still kind of gaming the SEO system. They've been doing that since like the dawn of marketing, it feels like, with, pumping out as much content as you can to get the best rankings possible, and not necessarily providing actual helpful content for people. And this can still be seen at the local level as well. So not just local, but bigger businesses as well. There's just that risk of content dilution where we're focusing more on the volume that we're outputting with content creation or creatives or graphics or what have you. But, that's all I guess I have to say for that. And then if the fact is, it's not always relevant in terms of what we're getting with answer engines and through the AI overview. It's still too new to fully be trusted. And I think there's more data that's coming out with that as well through industry professionals. And I can see that on LinkedIn a lot. It's very similar to how Google's featured snippets were not always reliable initially. Rip the featured snippet, my girl. But and obviously the systems and tools and all of that are going to evolve, and that might change over time, but they're still too new to be fully trusted. So you always have to be a little bit wary when you're using AI completely for all of your stuff. And just some examples of areas where we kind of can see AI as a very prominent thing is going to be with automated review responses. I've seen this within a couple of different tools. And just from a user perspective, like as a personal perspective as well, I think it should be a bare minimum for businesses to be engaging with their clients, especially at the local level. Because this is, the people that you're engaging with within your reviews, if you're a local business, are the people that you go to the grocery store and see. They're people that your kids go to school with. So it's a lot, it's more of an authentic experience when you're actually responding to your clients' reviews about how they feel regarding your service or your product or, whatever it is you're trying to sell them or give them. And then, of course, AI content creation, huge. See tons of tools about that. And kind of like I mentioned on the last slide, see it a lot with just kind of pushing out a volume of content and chasing those rankings, which are, of course, they're valuable. You want to be visible on search engines and you want to be visible in answer engines. But if we're just kind of focused on producing this content because of volume and because we can do it faster and we can just, for the sake of doing it, that's not necessarily focusing on user problems a lot of the time or providing legitimate, authentic value. And you can see this a lot more at the larger level. It's not as common with the small guys, but it's not entirely absent as well. And I think there's also just a broader critique about AI tools and software specifically, that it's kind of pushed as this essential thing that you need to keep up with SEO. And I personally don't believe that. Sure, as a single marketing professional, or if you're an overwhelmed business owner, yes, you might need help with stuff. But I think having the mindset that like, you can't do this without this tool, you're not going to succeed, you're not going to be successful. Like the mindset is just devaluing human creativity. And it's like pushing the FOMO of just not being part of something that's new, which I think can just be a dangerous mindset to get into. And I do believe that businesses that continue to prioritize human insight are going to be the ones that do deliver that more authentic value. And I think the word authentic is something that's been mentioned a couple different times throughout this presentation, or not presentation, throughout the webinar. And that value is not only going to come through if you're prioritizing human insight. It's not only going to come through with search engines and answer engines, but with people in their actual local communities that are looking to hire, you as a business owner, or if you work for a business that's, selling a service or a product. And ultimately, like, what a privilege to be able to think creatively and express yourself and your ideas to clients instead of just clicking a button to generate a bunch of content or a review. And on the other side of things is, how can AI be helpful? Because of course it is. There's a lot of things that it can be used for, like reading and analyzing data if you're a small team, if you're technically illiterate like myself, or if you're a one-person marketing professional. Obviously, if you have a ton of data and you're not super aware of how to process all of that and how to take this and turn it into this actionable item, like, that can be overwhelming, and AI can help to make that a little less overwhelming. It can help with drafting content outlines, which is great, provide recommendations for website optimization. It streamlines repetitive tasks. Didn't want to use a buzzword, but streamlining repetitive tasks to make it easier for people. And a good example of that would be if you have to generate large amounts of metadata, page titles, meta descriptions for a website. And that is a thing that Google kind of overwrites anyways. And we've seen a lot of that where it's like, you might create something, but Google's changing it anyway. So maybe you don't spend as much time on that and you spend it elsewhere, like creating really awesome content or handling more technical elements of your website and your marketing strategies. Also, research has become a lot faster with AI. Answer engines are sharing source links, which again are not always 100% accurate. You have to check that still. And then AI agents are available 24/7, where a human is not always available 24/7. So it can provide the foundation or the bones of the strategy, but I don't think it should be used as a full implementation of everything that you're doing. And I will say, like, writing content faster with AI doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get you results faster. Nothing is a guarantee. So Google still follows its own ranking processes, and answer engines generally mirror Google, and we're seeing more of that as well. So speed doesn't guarantee visibility or success, which I know is, not a new thing, but just want to say that as well. And some examples of areas where AI can be helpful. The deep research tool function within ChatGPT, I find to be super, super helpful, especially with local clients and finding promotional opportunities for them. So giving it, information about, I have, this client, this is their website, they provide these services, and, we've done A, B, and C for them, but we're looking at other ways that we can actually get their name out there and build their authority. Asking for what types of podcasts they should speak on, local events that they can attend or sponsor if they're into that, just to get their name out there. And obviously, you could easily do that research very manually as well. This is just an area where AI can be super helpful in giving you some time back. Other area kind of touched about this already, metadata creation, super helpful for e-commerce sites or larger sites, and it gives people some time back. Content drafting, kind of already talked about that as well. My friend, actually, she might be watching this, Jordan, developed a tool for Reddit to see the types of topics that people are talking about in certain communities on the platform, which is super awesome if you're looking for certain types of content created or content to create for your website or other platforms, social media, all that stuff. And within project management tools, this is less local scale, but in stuff like Asana, there's, more AI agents and bots that are showing up if you need, a question quickly or you need something summarized. Those are very helpful. So you don't have to sift through a bunch of stuff or spend a bunch of time waiting for somebody to get back to you. So that's also helpful. The top screenshot is also not at the local level. It's a screenshot from Amazon, but one specific area that I've noticed with e-commerce sites is these review summaries, which I think are incredibly useful for users and a great use of AI because it's generating these review overviews that can give people like really quick insights, help them make a better decision or make a purchasing decision if they are not sure. So it's really great for a shopping website or, similar related website. And it's very useful for somebody to have that information. So we went over, things that are not so great, things that are great. It's obviously helpful. But at its core, marketing is about humans. And I think it's very easy to kind of get away from that as the why we're doing all of this. The whole purpose of marketing, especially at the local level, when you're like dealing with people in your actual community, are to connect with them, connect with those human beings, influence them, and then foster positive perceptions about the business that you have. Because ultimately, services and products are bought by human beings. They're bought by us. They're used by us, and they're loved and or hated, disliked by us. So, use the tools that you have at your disposal. That's great. There's nothing wrong with using the tools, but take a step further and go beyond. Talk with real people to create content with those specific people in mind, whether it's at the local level or at, not the local level. Take real photos, hire artists to create real things instead of just relying on automation and AI to do all of the things for you just because it's available and it can. And especially at the local level, building relationships in your community is so valuable, and it's probably more valuable than building ones online for local businesses. Because human beings ultimately crave connection, and no one person experiences the same thing as someone else. So our goal as marketing professionals should really be to amplify these authentic connections that businesses are having with their clients, or that we are having, if you're a business owner, are having with clients, and not diluting them with technology. Because ultimately visibility comes from Google. It comes from answer engines. You're showing up on Bing, Yahoo, all of that. But credibility comes from you as a business. And ranking on Google and in the local pack, if you're a local business, is of course so valuable for visibility, and not discrediting any of that. But actual business growth comes from human influence, and it comes from this connection that we have with people, and it's not just coming from algorithms. So answer engines, Google, all of them, they can help people find you, but it's not necessarily convincing people to partner with you or trust you. That's where your content, your expertise, and your authority come from. And I think that, there's the argument that AI creates better content, but I would argue that it doesn't really. It lacks the authentic human touch, especially when you're looking to solve somebody's problem. And giving a machine something like a beautifully generated prompt that checks all the boxes that you're trying to answer is not authentic. And it kind of goes back to the first couple of slides where, machines have not experienced human emotions before. So you can give it a prompt and it's going to respond, ideally with what you want, but it's not, if you're looking to solve somebody's problem, the machine has not experienced the problem before. A human being has experienced the problem. So it would make more sense to be talking to an actual human being, to create content for whatever problem is you're trying to solve, whatever service you're trying to sell, product, etc. And ultimately, tools and software are seeking to create this like world of perfection, and everything has to be just so. But I don't think that should be the goal with marketing, because imperfection is such a human quality and trait, and it often is what resonates most with us as human beings as well. And another great example of that would be online reviews. Julian kind of touched this in the last presentation about if you're all just 5 stars and gold and perfect, people are going to be a little bit more unsure about you, and they're not going to know whether to really trust you, because nobody is perfect. Nobody has no problems at all if they're a business. So ultimately it starts with us as marketing professionals, and even as not marketing professionals. This could be, it doesn't have to be solely tied to marketing, at this mindset of choosing humans over software and automation. But for the sake of this presentation, starts with us in the marketing world. And it starts with the decision to value human touch over making everything faster just because we can make it faster. And I think once we start with that decision, that's ultimately what's going to shift the idea of what we think is valuable. So ultimately, AI is probably going to change more things than it gets rid of. And it's not going to be without disruption either. There's going to be the companies that are not going to agree with this mindset or follow this mindset, and that's perfectly fine. That's up to them. And then there's going to be the businesses that do, and they're going to take the time to, do the research and not necessarily invest all the money in the tools, but they're going to invest money and time into their people. So it kind of is, it's not, this is the way to go and this is the way not to go. I don't want it to make it seem that like that. It's just, a different mindset to think about when we're talking about AI, and specifically when AI is kind of into everything that we do these days. And yeah, kind of like I said, everything doesn't have to be faster. It doesn't have to be more efficient. It's okay to take time to be a human, take time to think, to research, to learn, to understand something rather than just adding it into an answer engine and immediately getting a response. And another side of this, where it could also be its own presentation about environmental impacts, it's not a secret that marketing is not necessarily an eco-friendly profession. But I think there's something to be said for marketing professionals that do their due diligence, I guess, to stay informed and mindful about the environmental impact that AI and digital tools has. And, maybe not necessarily doing every little thing with AI. And I'll leave you with just a couple of thoughts. Technology is continually evolving, but I think the core principles of marketing in general are going to stay the same, whether you're using AI or you're not using AI. And that's to show up for your audience by answering their questions and helping them solve problems that are very unique to them. And I think that is easily done by just talking to people, talking to humans, interviewing them, having phone calls, having videos, meet with them in person, whatever it is. I think that's the best and most authentic way to show up for people that are looking for you in a very digital AI online world. Because ultimately AI is a convenience. It does make everything easier, and that is great in some instances. And I think in others, there is a line that has to be drawn, because ultimately authentic human insight and thought is what's going to drive the best content and marketing strategies. Because kind of like I said, a couple slides ago, the whole point of marketing is the people aspect. You're marketing to human beings. And there's actually a really fantastic article that Vogue Australia put out a couple days ago by Sophia Gao. I don't know if that's how you pronounce their last name, but it was about the obsession with efficiency. And there's just a section in there where they say technology already takes care of the truly tedious things, but we're still inventing faster and faster than ever. The tech industry seems to have tasked itself with a mass excavation of everything effortful. And with every day that passes, the human hand becomes slightly more redundant. And she's talking about some specific examples in this article, like drafting 100 emails with the click of a button and a quick ChatGPT prompt. You are very easily able to just not do grocery shopping anymore. You can do that with a click of a button. It's all for our convenience. And last thing I'll say before I jump off, but take the time, if you take anything from this webinar, take the time to be a human being, to create your art and to talk to people in your personal life and your work life. Take the scenic route, take the time to do what makes you a human being, and that's going to be so much better for us all. So again, thank you for listening to me yap for 20 minutes. The organization I'm raising funds for is the Quarter Project, and that is all I've got.
Leighanne, thank you very much. That's great. Really love hearing you talk so passionately about something that you clearly believe is incredibly important to, I guess, the future of kind of humans within marketing, which I think every single one of us on this webinar, this conference, can understand, from a very personal, direct perspective. We've got some time for questions, so I'm going to get the first question on screen. I think I might have a couple for you as well, if that's okay. So this one is, I guess, what is your workflow for creating website content? And how do you combine, both the opportunities and the value that AI has with keeping it kind of human and keeping it authentic?
Yeah, I think I don't do a ton of website content creation as much anymore. I'm kind of moving out of that space, but I do work pretty closely with the content manager at Beyond Blue Media. And there's something that he started doing with actually interviewing people and creating content for their website based on things that he's actually asked them, like what they do at their work, for an example. So we have a client that's a coffee shop, and he actually went to their business for a couple hours just to ask, what are you doing here? What makes you different than other coffee shops in town? What is your mission, your values? So I think there's a good like merging of content with AI and making it human, with starting at the foundational aspect of you're talking to real people to get that information about like what makes them specifically unique. And then if you need AI to help build a draft around that information, that's great as well. But ultimately, not just relying on AI to create the content itself. If you're not actually like speaking with human beings, and like AI is kind of just going to give you whatever it already has seen and already knows. It's not necessarily generating something that's brand new that it's never seen, and it's never been to those businesses. It's never talked to those people that work there. So I think there's a merge that has to happen where it's like, and again, I don't want to say that AI is the villain. It's not the villain. It's definitely possible to use it, but also just being a little bit more, I don't think considerate is the right word, intentional with the content that's being created, where I don't really believe taking AI, just content on its own, like, and then humanizing it in a way is necessarily a great solution. If you're just like giving it a prompt, it's giving something to you. But that's just my own personal feeling. That's also that other people could have different recommendations, different ideas about that. That was long-winded, but
Yeah. I think it's one of those things. I mean, I think, if you look at the history of SEOs, we've kind of sort of spoiled the things that we've been given. We kind of launched the kind of tactics and we overused them. And the original intent around certain things like guest blogging, for example, was seen as a great way to get your, some digital PR, but we all latched onto it like crazy and overused it to the point where it's up to get you kind of sort of penalized. I think we are always under a lot of pressure to do things faster and more effectively in a very kind of competitive world. And I think that's where probably where we've seen AI as a wonderful opportunity, but we're in pretty great peril of overusing it and
right.
kind of losing our kind of individuality, our uniqueness, our kind of creativity within doing it, because we are under pressure to do more, to do it faster, to do it cheaper. I've got a question for you. In terms of when you speak to your customers, then, do you get many questions from them about like, how are you using AI, and what's your response to that?
Yes and no. So I have gotten questions like during the sales process about how we're using AI. And I think Beyond Blue Media specifically has been pretty transparent about the fact that like we have tools that we use. Like it's not a secret that we're using ChatGPT for stuff. And a lot of people are using that, or Perplexity or Claude or whatever it is that you're using for answer engines. And it's a great way to test things, but it's ultimately not something that we're relying on to provide results, if that makes sense. Like we're not utilizing it to implement every element of an SEO strategy or an ads campaign or something else. Like it's used as the bones of something, and then it's built on with that more real person research, or we're talking to individuals. And there hasn't been a ton of pushback, at least not to my knowledge, from people that are like, oh, you're not using it as much as I thought you would, because I think there's a unique element to being an agency that kind of isn't using AI as much as others. And we're really focused on more of that. Real people are doing the work. We're looking at, the research, the competitive research. We're doing keyword research, not with AI. So the feedback has been good, at least from what I've seen, and just being transparent with people about, this is how we feel. And, if that doesn't work for you, then, you'll find another agency where that makes sense for. So I think it kind of comes down to that.
So you take a very kind of clear, sort of honest sort of stance in terms of communicating how you use it, and you're prepared to let clients go or clients walk away if you're not aligned to them.
Yeah, I personally, obviously, I don't own the company, but from a personal standpoint, yeah, being as transparent as possible, I think, is also just another point of being authentic and genuine. And ultimately, the owner of Beyond Blue Media has also mentioned that he doesn't want to be heavily relying on AI, and that's kind of just the way that we operate. But yeah, we're still using the tools where it's necessary, and if we need some time back, then AI helps with that, and that's great. But it's not something that we would like choose over our teammates. It's not something we would ever let somebody go for because like we have a tool that does it better than them or faster. So yeah, very, again, in line with doesn't have to be faster, doesn't have to be more efficient. And obviously people won't always agree with that. We live in a very, like, at least in the US, capitalistic consumerism culture. So people want it faster. So it's definitely a mindset that you have to kind of be intentional about, I think.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what Andy Jarvis talked about at the sort of start of today. He talked about picking an audience and getting your positioning right and being prepared to make that your kind of sort of stated position. You can't appeal to everyone. You can appeal to the right audience with the right message. You will win fans, you'll win kind of customers. And so I think there will be a time where people will have to choose almost kind of exactly how they're going to pitch themselves.
Right.
Are they very, very pro AI? And are they going to talk about it openly, or are they kind of sort of less pro AI, and that's the stance they're going to take when kind of talking to customers? I thought, and also we've talked a lot about content today and that kind of content creation, which is like an intensely originally a creative output. But I guess there are lots of parts of marketing that are a bit more mechanical, where AI can actually really, really benefit, on some of the kind of targeting sort of pieces in PPC, some of the kind of campaign management side of things, not the creation. So I think there's lots of opportunity to leverage that in really effective ways to, reduce lost time and speed things up.
Definitely.
And maybe you hold on to those kind of intrinsically kind of creative human elements and keep, allowing, your authenticity, uniqueness, your own unique world viewpoints to kind of flourish in the content that you provide.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a good marriage of the two. So
yeah. And I think we are all just trying to figure out exactly that split, like where it's great, where it's not great, and how do we retail utilize it. And none of us really have the skills yet to really know how to do that. I mean, some people say they do, and I envy them. But I think a lot of us are going like, I know I should, like where is this going to land, and exactly that, and at which speed? But you're kind of trying to jump onto a moving train. You're just trying to time it right and get it right. So listen, thank you so much for today. You've been brilliant. I love the charity that you've chosen to support. It's the second actually kind of learning sort of focused charity that we've got today. This conference is all about learning. It's all about enabling people to have better understanding, better insight. They can have more impact. And it's for marketers. Your project your charity is kind of focused on helping to educate, children that kind of sort of school age. I'm incredibly, big believer in the impact of education to change lives. So I'm delighted that we can support this charity today.
Yeah. Yes. So am I. They're great. And it's great that they're very local to Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
So
brilliant. Thank you so much for bringing them to our attention. Thank you so much for your talk today. It's been lovely to meet you properly. Do have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you so much.